competitive in almost every game this year, but they've got some big concerns today.
Well, one of the concerns is the head of Cleveland, Gary, fumbled 3 times last week against Phoenix. Will he put it on the carpet today? But the big players have to come through for the Rams. That means Jim Everett at quarterback and the 2 wide receivers, Aaron Cox for Flipper Anderson and Henry Ellard. They all have to have big days.
Los Angeles Rams have won the toss, and they will receive to open the game. Today, by the way, is a cheerleader reunion at Texas Stadium. Along one of the signature elements of the Dallas Cowboys going back to the days of the mid-70s. Lynn Elliott will kick off for Dallas. They come in 8-1. And the Los Angeles Rams 3-6, but they have lost most recently by the narrowest of margins. Last week, Los Angeles losing at home to Phoenix by 6. They lost on the road prior to that to Atlanta by 2. They last won against the New York Giants. Vernon Turner is one of the deep men. The other is David Lang. David Lang will grab this at the 8-yard line. Gets by Clayton Holmes, but then the tackle is made by Darren Woodson, who has become a big star on the special teams for the Cowboys. Jim Everett leads the Los Angeles Rams now in his 7th season. And up front, he'll have Perry and Newberry along with Bostic, Malinchik, Jackie Slater, and Pat Carter. Cleveland, Gary, David Lang, the wide receivers Aaron Cox for Flipper Anderson, and Henry Ellard. Cleveland, Gary, all the way out to the 25. A nice run over left tackle on first down. Russell Maryland makes the stop. Jimmy Johnson said yesterday Tony Casillas is really the heart and soul of this defensive line. And he is joined by Tolbert, Maryland, and Jim Jeffcoat, who starts for an injured Charles Haley. We might see Haley on 3rd downs today. Smith, Jones, and Norton are the linebackers. And in the secondary, it's Holton Brown, James Washington, and fresh from 2 interceptions last week, Thomas Everett. 2nd down and 4. Cleveland, Gary tests the middle, and he comes up short. It'll be 3rd down. And almost immediately we see the Cowboy defense where it shines its best, and that is on 3rd down. They are extraordinary on their 3rd down defense.
Well, the numbers they're putting up on 3rd down are precedent-setting numbers. This 22%, if it holds up for the entire year, would be an all-time NFL record. But in the last 5 games, they've only allowed 1 first down in 25 tries on 3rd down.
It's 3rd and 3 right now, and for the season, teams are 50% on 3rd and 3 against Dallas. Gary. That's the first down at the 30-yard line.
This is a real good start for LA. 3 carries in a row for Cleveland, Gary, and it's a good call by Ernie Zampese. Cowboys were expecting a pass play. You see there are no linebackers in the middle. Norton comes up late to make the tackle, but a good play selection by offensive coordinator Ernie Zampese going with the draw there on 3rd and 4.
First down and 10 at the 31-yard line. Opening drive of the ball game. The Rams had scored only 1 touchdown in the first quarter this year. Play action on first down. Everett deep left side. Aaron Cox with a crossing pattern. That's a gain of 15 and a first down at the 45-yard line. Isaac Holt with the catch, or with the tackle.
And Aaron Cox seeing some action for the injured Flipper Anderson. Cox told us
it's making.
For both Saints, he's on the for me.
Things that a lot of teams haven't been able to do against Dallas. But when you look at the fact that they've only scored one touchdown the entire year in the first quarter, that's an offense that has been struggling.
Second down and 4. Ball at the 49. They'll hand it off, and Gary darts to the outside. He goes by Vincent Smith, breaks a tackle, breaks another. The longest gain against Dallas coming into the ball game had been 17 yards. That is the longest running play against the Dallas Cowboys in 1992.
And you know, this man, Cleveland Gary, wants to prove a couple of things today. Number one, he doesn't want to fumble the ball. He's going to work against Vincent Smith here. Watch the block on the linebacker. Nice job by Perry, but Smith just whiffs in the backfield, or it would have been a couple of yard loss. But Gary played for Jimmy Johnson at the University of Miami. He wants to show the old coach he's still got it.
Larry Brown also missed a tackle, a gain of 21, first down at the 30. On the sweep, Gary down at the 28. Gary and Dan said at the outset he had those fumble problems last week. Had the much publicized fumbling problems in 1990. Last year didn't play that much. He's only
out in the second half, determined to make something happen. Well, the things that happened were bad for him. He dropped it 3 times.
Second and 7. No score. Rams driving. Blitz. Everett throws it away. He simply had to let it go deep left side, and it'll be third down.
Chaos beyond. Good job of getting rid of it under pressure.
It'll be third down and 7. En route to posting this 22% yield on third downs, the average need on every third down play for the season has been 3rd and 7.7. So this is right at the mark. Left side, man open, Clipper Anderson. They have converted 2 first downs in this drive. That's a gain of 14.
Well, the key to this play is good pass protection. The Cowboys are going to play a zone, but there's just no pressure on Everett. And when he has the time to throw, and it's an out route, there's no quarterback that throws it any better. He's a tall guy, 6'5", sees the field well, and if you keep people 2 or 3 yards away from him, he'll kill you.
After that 14-yard pickup, first down at the 13. 10th play of the drive. They toss it to Gary. He comes right. Cuts upfield and is knocked down at the 10. Fumble, but the ball rolled down by contact.
Well, you know one thing is the Cowboys will be digging and pulling on his arm, scratching, trying to break his fingers, trying to pry that ball loose. Another thing they'll try to do all day is remind him, hey, you dropped it 3 times against the Cardinals last week. How about giving us a couple? But Chuck Knox told us last night he wants to give Gary positive reinforcement all week long and not dwell on the fumbling part. Talk about how to prevent it. Keeping your hand over the point of the ball, tucking it in when you feel contact.
Second down and 7. Russell Maryland, you see him, number 67, was Gary's teammate, said he wasn't a fumbler at Miami. Here's Everett back, looking left, into the flat. It is caught by Cleveland Gary.
And he got the first down all the way to the 1-yard line as he just outran Vincent Smith, number 57, to the corner. Everett with a quick read to his wide receiver, then to his outlet receiver, Gary, and the speed and strength to shake off that tackle and take it to the 1.
The Los Angeles Rams, losers 4 of the last 5 weeks, are on the verge of scoring only their 2nd touchdown of the season in the first quarter. Gary, no TD. He's going to be stopped about 2 feet short.
And that's not the touchdown signal by Everett. That shows Coach Knox and Coach Zampese upstairs just exactly how much the Rams need for a score. Number 75 is Tony Casillas, and he's going to get the good penetration against Brostek, push the big center back, and give Gary absolutely no way to get into the end zone.
2nd and goal from the 1. Gary. Touchdown, Los Angeles. What an impressive drive to open this ball game for the Los Angeles Rams.
Very determined drive by the entire offense, and a very determined run that time by Cleveland Gary. You really have to give him a lot of credit for that drive. Handled the ball on almost every play. We're concerned about his head coming into this game. I think his head is fine, and the rest of him is doing pretty good too.
Hands seem okay. Tony Zendejas out of Mike Pagel's hold. And the Los Angeles Rams drive 81 yards to open the ball game. They chew up 7 minutes and 10 seconds and take a 7-0 lead.
The key block on this is going to be Joe Malinchik, number 71. He's going to kick out here and give Gary a little seam. Nice job of getting around all that traffic and taking the legs of the linebacker away, and Gary's in for a rare touchdown for the Rams.
That was a 13-play drive, and Cleveland Gary touched the ball on 10 of the 13. 9 runs and a catch. And the LA Rams take a 7-0 lead over a suddenly very quiet Texas Stadium crowd.
That drive for the Rams was vintage Chuck Knox. A couple of passes were mixed in there, but it really had the trademark of a Chuck Knox hard-nosed type of football team, and Cleveland Gary's got to be feeling awfully good about himself. And what he does with that type of performance is he eases the minds of all his teammates. Hey, we can give him the ball all the time now. He's not going to fumble the ball.
And that was a drive against the #1 defensive team in the National Football League. Earlier in the season, the Dallas Cowboys gave up 68 yards total offense to Seattle. That's for the game. They just gave up 81 in the first drive here this afternoon. Here's Zendejas, Kelvin Martin, and Clayton Holmes are the deep backs. This will be Martin at the 4. Fumble the ball. So an inauspicious beginning for the Cowboys special teams. And Troy Aikman will come out to take a snap from center for the first time this afternoon with 7:41 remaining in the first quarter. Aikman having a very consistent season. And up front, Tuanay and Newton, Stepnoski, John Giesick, Eric Williams, and Jay Novacek. In the backfield, Emmitt Smith, Darrell Johnston, and the wideouts are Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper. First and 10 from the 23. Play action by Aikman on first down. Behind Michael Irvin, who catches it. No, drops it. Incomplete pass. Kevin Green with 8 sacks is the leader of this Los Angeles Ram defense. Robinson, Boutte, and Gilbert. Mike Peel replaces the injured Bill Hawkins at right end. It's Green, Kelman, Pfeiffer at the linebacker spots. And Todd Light, Darrell Henley, Pat Terrell, and Anthony Newman in the secondary. Welcome those of you who've been watching the Washington-Kansas City game. We have the Cowboys trailing the Los Angeles Rams 7-0 here at Texas Stadium. On second and 10, Troy Aikman goes deep. Michael Irvin, as Henley had slipped. And here's Irvin after the catch. Gets by Todd Light and out of bounds at the 30. That's a 48-yard pickup, Aikman to Irvin.
The key point, Vern, as you mentioned, Henley slips and falls down, and when Irvin catches this ball, there's nobody around him. And this guy just won't settle for anything less than a big play. Likes to call himself the playmaker, averaging over 20 yards a reception, which is tops in the league by a long way.
The LA Rams drove 81 yards with their opening possession, got a 1-yard touchdown from Cleveland Gary. That's the 7th they have. The Cowboys trying to tie it up. From the 29, here's Emmitt Smith. And pretty good defensive effort by the interior of that Los Angeles Ram line. led by Mark Boutte, number 96.
We talk about chess matches all the time between coaches. This is going to be a real unique chess match between offensive coordinators. The Cowboy offensive coordinator is Norv Turner. He used to work for the Ram offensive coordinator, Ernie Zampese. Zampese, of course, worked with me in San Diego, and Don Coryell, the greatest offensive coach of all time. So we should see quite a few fireworks today, and I'm kind of excited about that, Vern.
2nd and 8 from the 25. Here's Aikman back to throw across the middle. Jay Novacek, his tight end, makes the grab short of the first down at the 20. It'll be a gain of 6 and brings up a 3rd down as Larry Kilm makes the tackle. Well, the Cowboys have so much that they can bring to the game offensively.
Well, this 12 touchdowns for Emmitt Smith is ties for a Cowboy record in one season, and he's got 7 more games to go. Then you go to Aikman and Irvin and Novacek, all among the leaders in the NFL, and George Dyer has to figure out some way of stopping all these weapons. It won't be easy.
3rd and 2 from the Ram 20. Smith comes left with Daryl Johnson blocking, and he is hit close to the first down. Don't know if he got it or not. Larry Kilm makes the tackle. There's Larry Kilm, the one-time Texas A&M player.
Number 25 is Chris Grooms, a nickelback coming in and fighting off the block of Jay Novacek and then getting help from Kilm and Terrell. Good job by the young rookie who's playing here in Texas for the first time after playing at A&M.
That was Aggie and Aggie. And here comes the chain from across the field. 7-0 ball game. Rams lead. And they need that much. They're going to be short of the first down.
Big decision time. Yeah, big decision now for Jimmy Johnson. He's sending out his kicker. The crowd doesn't like it.
I'm surprised. They are 4 of 5 on 4th down conversions. They are meeting the team that is dead last in the league against the run.
And they have the best runner in the National Football League.
And he's going to settle for 3. It's a little bit surprising. Maybe he's going to settle for 3.
Well, with this special teams outfit coached by Joe Avezzano, you never know. They're one of the top special teams unit in the entire league. But this is awful early in the game to be going with the fake.
Lynn Elliott has hit his last 5 in succession. 37 yards out to put the Cowboys on the board. Elliott has now made it 6 in a row. The Cowboys pass on the option of running for the first down, and they settle for 3 to narrow the margin to 4. Dallas Cowboys came in leading the division, of course, and they're getting a lot of help from other people around the league. Washington loses big at Kansas City. Philadelphia, Herschel Walker fumbles with less than 30 seconds to go in the game. Chris Jackie's field goal from 41 gives Green Bay a victory over Philadelphia. The Giants play in Denver tonight. And now the Cowboys will kick it off to the Los Angeles Rams.
And you wonder about Jimmy Johnson and whether he knows about those upsets as far as the Packers beating the Eagles. I don't think we're going to call the Redskin loss an upset, but the fact is 2 NFC East teams lost today. He doesn't want to be the third. It'd be wonderful to have a 3-game lead in this division, especially when you look forward to what the Cowboys have to do on the road coming up.
Vernon Turner and David Lang are deep again for Lynn Elliott's kick. That's a dandy. And Vernon Turner will not be able to bring that one out. Lynn Elliott really got his foot into that. And look at the start for Cleveland Gary on the opening possession of the ball game for the LA Rams. 46 yards, and he also caught a pass. Scored the touchdown from 1 yard out.
And in talking to Ernie Zampese earlier in the week about Cleveland Gary, he says he's a real free spirit. He's not real interested in a lot of practice. He's kind of one of those guys that if you were on a Sandlot team, you'd pick him first. He'd say, great, let's go and play, and he'd get a big day.
First and 10, Los Angeles. They lead 7-3. That's Jim Price, the extra tight end. Everett flushed out of the pocket. He's pressured. Cleveland Gary makes the catch, and Casillas knocks him down. Tony Tolbert gets credit for a pressure. He altered Jim Everett's run.
Well, he's got 6 sacks on the year. On the left side of the screen is Tolbert, 92. And he's really enjoying a great year. Jimmy Johnson calls him his most consistent defensive player, both against the pass and against the run. That was a big loss for the Cowboys, pinning it on the Rams.
Took the inside route against Jackie Slater, and the end result, -7. Casillas urges the crowd on. It's 2nd and 17. Draw play. Gary goes left, brings it back out to the 20, the original line of scrimmage. And it will be 3rd down and 10.
We talked a lot about those 3rd down conversion stats, Vern. Well, that you might say, well, gee, they're great on 3rd down, but as you mentioned, the average is over 7 yards every time. So that means they're playing pretty good defense on 1st and 2nd down. This latest possession for the Rams, the big loss on 1st down, now will set up a real tough 3rd and 10 conversion attempt for LA.
Well, for the season, the Cowboys have allowed 3 conversions out of 9 on 3rd and 10, to give you an idea. Here comes the rush. There goes Everett. And he will slide down short of the 1st down. He gained 6.
Well, he gained 6, but he didn't get anywhere near the 1st down. Sometimes when you break that pocket, you've got to hang around behind the line of scrimmage and hope somebody will come loose. There's very rarely will a quarterback pick up 10 yards unless his name is Randall Cunningham or Steve Young. Certainly Jim Everett, that's not the strong part of his game.
Calvin Martin has 1 return for a touchdown this year. Cowboys said they might come after Bracken today. Here they come. Clayton Holmes got in his way, and Calvin Martin picks it up. Gets it out of bounds at the 43-yard line.
Boy, as a punter, you know when you're going up a team that has had success blocking punts. And it certainly looked that time like Bracken took his eye off the ball and forced a bad punt.
Texas Stadium opened in October of 1971 and was filled to capacity for almost all the games in the 70s. There was a stretch in the mid-80s when things went awry, but the fun is back in this place now. Dwayne Thomas scored the first touchdown here. 47-yard run. Here's Emmitt Smith. Gets it out to the 50-yard line.
And Emmitt Smith is going to break all of Dwayne Thomas's records if he has any left. Tony Dorsett's, Herschel Walker's. This guy in just his 3rd year has really been a pleasant surprise to the Cowboys. The thing that Johnson liked about him and the way he likes to evaluate talent is, does he produce? Is he a big playmaker? Regardless of all the statistics, size, speed, height, and weight, does he make plays? Well, Emmitt Smith has made them all 3 years.
2nd down and 3. We welcome the rest of you to Texas Stadium, where it's a 7-3 Los Angeles lead with just about 2 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Gerald Robinson makes that tackle on Emmitt Smith. Los Angeles, just to bring you up to speed, scored on the opening possession. They went 81 yards. Cleveland Gary carrying for most of it. And Gary got the touchdown from a yard out. And then on the ensuing possession by the Dallas Cowboys, a 48-yard pass from Aikman to Michael Irvin set up what ultimately became a 37-yard field goal by Lynn Elliott. And now the stretch of the chain, and the Cowboys, it appears, have a fresh set of downs.
See, the Cowboys are knuckling down now. They started their first drive with a couple of passes, got the big play to Michael Irvin, but the last 2 plays on this possession, they've gone right back to Emmitt Smith. The good field position helps out with the play selection from North Turner.
Cowboys have won 11 in a row at Texas Stadium. So with the victories have come the full houses. 1st down and 10. There's the flea flicker pass back to Aikman, and he's going deep into triple coverage. Alvin Harper is intercepted by Henley, who then drops the ball. I am shocked that Aikman decided to throw the ball. It wasn't double coverage. 3 of them down there who didn't buy the fake run into the line.
Well, when you look at Alvin Harper, though, you say he's 6'5", and these Ram defensive backs, Darrell Henley is 5'9", Terrell is a 6-footer. So what he's doing is he's giving Harper a chance to make a play. My question is this an interception? The ground cannot cause the fumble, but you have to come down with possession, and as he hits the ground, the ball comes loose.
So Henley does not get credit for the pick, and it's 2nd down and 10. They come left, and Emmitt Smith, there's a flag down. Red Cashin is our referee today. Michael Irvin. Obviously, I would guess it's going to be on Michael.
You think it might be number 88 holding? Illegal use of the hands against the Cowboys. Bring up a 2nd and 20 if the Rams decide to take it.
I'm going to go back to the point, Dan, that you made. Here's Red Cashin.
Illegal block during the run. Number 88 of the offense, 10 yards from the spot of the foul, still 2nd down.
You mentioned the heights of the defensive backs of the Rams. You were telling me that that's the first thing you would check when you got a scouting report on the opposing team.
Well, I always wanted to figure out some type of edge. And in San Diego, I had 6'5" Kellen Winslow. And if I saw that one of the defensive backs for my opponent was 5'8", I said, well, coach, we got to throw the ball to Kellen on this guy. And, you know, it's just one of those edges, and I'm sure that's what's going through Aikman's mind.
2nd and 17. Flags are down. There's a catch by Darrell Johnston. He picks up about 8, but this one may come back.
It looked like they got Sean Gilbert with the hard count. And now you got a feel for Darrell Johnston. He doesn't get that many chances to get his hands on the ball. Had a nice 8-yard gain there, but we'll see whether the Cowboys take the penalty, which they should, because that would save them a down, bring up a 2nd down instead of 3rd. So one of Darrell's few plays will be erased.
Darrell Johnston, who doesn't run the ball much, as a matter of fact, 12 times in 9 games. But he was really excited yesterday because he said, hey, they got 3 plays in for me.
Offsides, number 90 on the defense, 5 yards, still 2nd down.
Yeah, they had a couple of belly plays and a trap and an outside. And when I asked Coach Turner about it, Coach Turner said, he's dreaming. We're not going to run those plays until the 4th quarter when we're up by 20 points.
Right. So if all things stand as they should, Johnston will get his usual 1 carry per ball game. 2nd down and 12. He handles that role very well, though, blocking back for Emmitt Smith. Aikman on a line, almost picked off. Todd Light almost had the interception. It'll be 3rd and 12.
This is one of the trademarks of the Dallas offense, is the 5-step drop and throwing the slant pattern, or the skinny post, as some coaches like to call it. That ball was probably 1 inch thrown too far, but Irvin should have made that grab. That ball wasn't that poorly thrown.
That brings up a 3rd down and 12 with 27 seconds remaining in the 1st quarter of play. 7-3 LA.
It's tough as a quarterback to be 1 inch off.
Aikman for Kelvin Martin. He's got the 1st down. Little delay pattern by number 83, Kelvin Martin. 1st down Dallas after a gain of 16.
We talked a lot about the similarities in the 2 pass offenses, but what Turner has done with his Cowboy team is he has recognized that players like Martin and Irvin and Harper have good running ability, similar to what the 49ers do with the short crossing routes. Give the guys the ball and let them run for that first down. That time, that was wide open for Martin, and he converted on 3rd.
A lot of folks call that rack yardage, RAC, run after the catch.
Rack it up, 1st down.
That is the end of the 1st quarter with our score. The Los Angeles Rams on top, of the Dallas Cowboys by a count of 7-3. Cleveland Gary got the Ram touchdown. Lynn Elliott, a 37-yard field goal, but the Cowboys are now on the move. Began quarter number 2 with the Los Angeles Rams under Chuck Knox in his second time around as the head coach of the Rams, leading 7-3. In their last 4 losses, they've had some tough ones. At San Francisco, they lose by 3. At New Orleans, at Atlanta, and then they lose last week to Phoenix at home.
Big difference between this year and last year. Last year, with the identical record, the players said, yeah, but we were never in those games. We were getting blown out. Different story this year.
Emmitt Smith gets a pretty good block from Novacek, breaks the tackle, flies down the sidelines. Pat Terrell knocks him out of bounds near the 5-yard line.
Well, Jay Novacek isn't known for his blocking, but let's check him out here. Number 84. It's going to be the key one on Pfeiffer, but Pfeiffer's expecting a pass play. He was dropping back into coverage, and Novacek just took him on down the field. Strange play by Roman Pfeiffer, dropping back in pass coverage when the play is coming right at him on the ground.
28 yards for Emmitt Smith. He needed only 37 to go over 1,000. He's done it. Emmitt Smith comes right. This could break another record. It does. Touchdown. In 1977, Tony Dorsett scored 12 on the ground. In 1986, Herschel Walker scored 12 on the ground. That's number 13 for the season on the ground for Emmitt Smith.
And he still has 6.5 games to go.
How do you like the guys who got him in the fantasy football leagues?
I'd like to try to make a trade for him.
Lynn Elliott out of Steve Berline's hold to tack on the extra point.
When you run the ball tough in the middle, the defense has to respect that, especially down this part of the field. The ability to bounce to the outside is what sets Emmitt Smith apart.
Hey guys, 14:26 to go first half, and the Cowboys on Emmitt Smith's touchdown have gone on top. Here's the kickoff, and Lynn Elliott sends it 3 yards deep this time. Excellent downfield play by Chad Hennings. The one-time Air Force pilot gets a big congratulatory hug from Joe Avezzano, the special teams coach. Just think, a year and a half ago, he was flying missions in Kuwait. He came out and asked to be placed. 14-17 remaining first half. Chad Hennings, who during Desert Storm was flying missions for the Air Force, supplying the Kurds in Iraq. And here he is making a big hit on the special teams for the Dallas Cowboys. Cleveland Gary breaks a tackle, and he moves it out to the 23-yard line as the Rams take over once again. Thomas Everett makes the tackle, number 31.
And you see a big smile from Gary. Running backs love to acknowledge a good hit, especially after they pick up 5 or 6 or 7 yards. Let's take a look at Jackie Slater, number 78, coming out on the linebacker. That's Ken Norton, number 51, and pushes him 10 yards down the field. And look where Gary finds the hole, right where Norton left.
Second down and 3, Jim Price in the lineup. Here's Gary again, comes left, this time nothing doing. Good penetration, and it came from Russell Maryland, his former teammate at the University of Miami. Russell Maryland, unwanted by most collegians out of the Chicago area. Jimmy Johnson said, we'll take a chance on him. All he did later was become the number 1 draft choice in the National Football League.
And he really fits in well with this mix now that the Cowboys use on defense. They like to use 18, 19 players. They take out the little Russell Maryland and bring in the big cat, Leon Lett, number 78.
4 wide receiver set on 3rd and 4. Everett, right side, incomplete. Jeff Chadwick dropped it, had it in his hands. It'll be 4th down. New Orleans jumping on the 49ers early. And Tampa Bay jumping on Chicago.
A lot of people jumping around it so far today.
Here's Kelvin Martin back. Joe Avazano said his special teams punt blocking unit was looking for something today, and they might come a couple of times early, but this time they've got the return on all the way because of field position. There's Don Bracken. Good punt. Martin at the 29. Good downfield coverage by the Rams. That's a 48-yard punt and only 3 on the return for Kelvin Martin. 12:36 remaining first half. Cowboys up by 3. There's it. There's a flag at the 40-yard line. And red cashing indicates that it's against Dallas. Here's the call from Cashin.
Holding by the receivers after the ball was kicked. Post-possession foul, 10 yards from where it was caught. First down at 10.
I think Jimmy Johnson understands all that, and he doesn't seem dissatisfied. 12:36 to go, first half. 36 remaining first half on a glorious November Sunday afternoon. Temperature expected to reach a high of 74 today. And the Los Angeles Rams trail the Dallas Cowboys 10-7. Dallas has the ball, first down 10 at the 20. That's Novacek in motion out of the backfield. Aikman deep right side for Michael Irvin. And he is double teamed and knocked backwards by Todd Light and Anthony Newman. And Irvin's going to be a little slow getting up.
Talking to Aikman earlier in the week, he said the most amazing thing about this year for him so far is he has not gotten up on Monday morning and felt sore.
And Dan,
he's a guy that's been sacked 104 times in his career, and so far this year they're doing a great job of protecting him.
No sacks last week, only 14 for the season, and he's also been injury prone in his first 3 years. He's been absolutely the picture of health this year. Here's Emmitt Smith out near the 35-yard line. Tackle was made by Kevin Green, number 91. In overtime, the Patriots win their first. Chatting yesterday with Daryl Johnston about his former college coach, Dick McPherson of the New England Patriots, and all of us wish Dick well. Underwent colon surgery earlier this week, and we hope he has a speedy recovery. Daryl Johnston telling some great stories about Coach Mack yesterday.
And you know, seeing that score, that's got to make Coach Mack feel better.
They look for Daryl Johnston. Kevin Green with the tackle. And the ball is fumbled out of bounds, but the Cowboys do retain possession with a first down out at the 43.
And getting back to Aikman and his injury problems, he's probably his own worst enemy because he's so tough and he's so willing to hang in the pocket. You see the face or the chin strap he wears. That's one of those Evel Knievel crash jobs. Under that chin strap, there are over 40 stitches that he has suffered in his career from hits to that chin. You might call Troy Aikman a chin-first quarterback, one of the toughest in the league.
First and 10 Dallas. They lead it by a 10-7 count. Play action. Michael Irvin on a crossing route, wide open. Boy, there was some kind of blown assignment then defensively. That is a gain of 32 to go with another gain earlier of 48 for Michael Irvin.
It's a similar route to the one where Aikman threw it down the field to Harper into that triple coverage. He had Irvin open that time. This time it's going to be from the left side of the screen. and it's a play action pass. There you see Irvin, and he gets into the zone that number 58 Roman Pfeiffer should be covering. But when you run the ball well, as the Cowboys do with Emmitt Smith, you got to think run first. That's why Irvin was so wide open on that one.
Over the course of the last 14 games, Michael Irvin is averaging 109 yards per game in catches. Here they go again. Nope, dropped this one. In front of Tom Light.
That one was almost too easy for Irvin. That's 2 drops on the day for him.
Did I see a kid wearing a freebie jersey down there? It looked like the name on the back of his jersey said freebie.
Well, here's the second catch of the day that Irvin has dropped. Right off the fingertips. And Light just a step behind. There's your guy Freebie wearing number 17.
Don Meredith.
Perfect. That might be Meredith.
He hasn't been seen in recent years outside of Santa Fe. Timeout. Play clock was down to 5. So the Cowboys moving again, and they have a 3-point lead. Well, Don Meredith, dandy as we all knew him and loved him, played only 9 seasons for the Cowboys. He retired at 31 and now lives in Santa Fe with his wife Susan. And there's a guy wearing his jersey. I can tell you that guy, the name is appropriate because he's on the first row on the 11th yard line. Not a great seat. Up the middle, inside the 20 near the 17. Emmitt Smith. Picked up 5 on that run.
Yeah, and just a real, very quiet 5. Got in the middle of that big pile, and all those guys, Newton, Giesick, Stepnoski, Tuane, and Williams, it was almost like a flying wedge. They just keep pushing forward, and Smith gets right in behind them. Nice, safe place to be. Even Johnston's in the mix there, pushing Kelm out of the way. Great block by Johnston as he puts Kelm on his back.
3rd down and 5 at the 19. The Cowboys leading 10-7 over the LA Rams. Aikman settles short at the 17. That'll be short of the first down. Kelvin Martin with the grab, and a flag is down.
Yeah, it's going to be holding against the Cowboys. Rams came with some heat that time. On the blitz, good defensive call by George Dyer, their defensive coordinator.
And the option resting. It will be 4th down if the Rams decline the penalty and take the play. And here's Red Cashin.
Holding number 61 on the offense. 10 yards, still 3rd down.
Nate Newton. And the penalty will be accepted.
Yeah, Red Cashin must have a chest cold or something. He's really not into this one today. I mean, he's usually the guy that gives you the first down.
It's a home game for Red. He lives down in Bryan, only 90 miles or so south of here.
You didn't have to tell me he was from Texas.
I didn't think I would. What was your first clue?
First down.
3rd and 15. Aikman settles for Emmitt Smith. Anthony Newman and Robert Bailey. It's Robert Bailey, number 28, who makes the tackle, and that'll bring on Glenn Elliott after a 5-yard gain.
That was a real important defensive sequence for the Rams. Looked like the Cowboys were rolling there. Got the big pass play to Michael Irvin again, but again they're going to have to settle for a field goal.
Elliott now 12 of 20 for the season, but had a kind of a shaky start. He has hit his last 6, and this will be from 42 yards out. Berline will hold. That's going to be good. Nailed it. 7 in a row for the young man from Texas Tech University. Cowboys trailed 7-0 midway through the first quarter, but they've scored the last 13.
Team summary is sponsored by McDonald's.
It has been a ground game thus far. Emmitt Smith has passed the 1,000-yard mark for the season. Cleveland Gary rushed for a touchdown as the Rams went 81 yards in the opening drive, but they've now yielded 13 consecutive points, and Dallas leads it by 6. Lynn Elliott will kick it off. And this will be returned. Vernon Turner out near the 21-yard line as he went right, and the tackle was made by Kenneth Gant, number 29. Cowboys came in with an 8-1 record. They lead it by 6 midway through quarter number 2. Line of downtown Dallas, and we're at Texas Stadium, some 15 miles away. Inside the hole in the roof, where the Dallas Cowboys lead 13-7. Rams first down and 10. Charles Haley is in the lineup. Here's the pass to Pat Carter, the tight end, and he's got a first down out of the 35. Pat Carter, his 15th catch of the season. There's Charles Haley. He injured a groin muscle in practice on Wednesday, and we weren't certain how much we would see of him today.
No, and what the Cowboys have done is they moved him over to the left side, replacing Tony Tolbert, and they have Jim Jeffcoat. The thing the Cowboys have so unique is they have so many defensive linemen that they can plug in different spots here.
First down and 10 Rams, Jim Price. The motion man, here's Cleveland Gary between the tackles and out to the 40 where Ken Norton Jr. makes the stop.
Ken Norton was very interested in that fight the other night. Said it was one of the greatest fights he's ever seen since you know who beat you know who.
Dad and Ali.
Yeah.
Ken Norton Jr. Steve Young has scored for the 49ers, and Eddie Murray has kicked a field goal for Tampa Bay as former Cowboy kicker Ken Willis was waived by the Buccaneers earlier this week. Second down at the 40. Everett back. And tripped and fell before the rush got there. See if Jim Jeffcoat gets credit for a sack here, but
yeah, the first guy to him that touches him will get credit for it, and I think you're right, it was. But this is just a trip. He just falls down over his own feet. His left foot hooked behind his right ankle. There's Jeffcoat will go in there and dive on him and pick up the easiest sack of his career, and number 6.5 on the year.
Jim Jeffcoat, who was a #1 draft choice in 1983, and along with Mark Tuinei and Bill Bates, have seen both the best and the worst here in Dallas. But boy, how they must be enjoying their current status as an 8-1 team. Jim Everett, nice catch. Flipper Anderson in front of Larry Brown. That's a first down at the 49. And a gain of 19 yards.
We talked about how the Cowboys like that slant pass. Well, Norv Turner learned it from Ernie Zampese when he was an assistant under Zampese with the Rams. And Everett and the Rams throw it every bit as good as Aikman and the Cowboys. It's 5 steps and you just try to hit it right in the seam between the defensive backs, and that's a big first down for LA.
Jim Everett 6 of 8 for 59 yards. He's a streaky quarterback, and if he gets on a roll, tough to stop. First down and 10. Cleveland Gary, big hole, and he goes right through another one and down to the 22-yard line. He turned Kevin Smith, the rookie, around.
It was a huge hole over the right side, but the big cut, north and south cut down the field, is what watch the block by Pat Carter on the kick out here on Tolbert. And then as Gary gets into the secondary, that's a nice block by the tight end. He makes a great move heading straight upfield, and there goes Smith down to the ground.
First down and 10 Rams. They trail by 6. Play action. Everett looks in the end zone, fires it deep, incomplete. It's Kevin Smith who just got burned on the play, knocking it away from Henry Eller.
Now we saw Aikman earlier give his receiver a chance to make a grab in the end zone. That time Everett's real lucky that Smith doesn't pick this one off. This is a heck of a recovery by Smith, and then he gets his right hand on it. Can't quite pull it in. But he does the most important thing. He keeps Ellard from making the grab.
Kevin Smith, the Cowboys' #1 draft choice in 1992 from Texas A&M. Cox comes near side, Ellard to the right on 2nd and 10. 13-7 Dallas leads. Gary hit behind the line. Jim Jeffcoat. A loss of 4.
And you know, playing back at right end is his natural position, and he just jumps right inside the block of tight end Pat Carter. But it's a good slant move there that time. That was a predetermined slant by the entire line, and Carter was not ready for the quickness of Jeffcoat.
You talked to Dave Wanstead, the defensive coordinator, about how Jeffcoat has adapted. He said Haley came in, he starts, but Jeffcoat has just been terrific. Oops. This time he jumps off, free play, incomplete.
Boy, and Flipper Anderson did a real bonehead play there by stopping. That was a free play. He noticed the flag, but he stopped on his route. That's the time you want to go even harder. Watch, this ball is going to be really well thrown by Everett. And now Anderson, for some reason, just stops on the play. He had Brown back on his heels, and that could have been a potential touchdown for the Rams. That's that old free play where you just know you've got the defense offsides. Everett knew it. He went through with the play. Anderson's got to do the same thing.
Didn't. And it's now 3rd down. 3rd and 9 after the 5-yard penalty against Jeffcoat. 4 receivers, 3 of whom go to the right side. And Jim Everett will operate out of the shotgun, 4-man rush. Everett pulls up, fires, has a man open. 1st and goal. Los Angeles at the 8. It's Jeff Chadwick with the ball.
This is a nice job of Everett buying that time we talked about earlier. Here's Chadwick. He's going to work down and across the middle and find a hole in this seam. It's a nice rub there by Aaron Cox, and Everett does a great job of finding him wide open over the middle.
This has been the 2nd impressive drive by Los Angeles in the ball game. They have a 1st and goal from the 7. Gary cuts it back to the left, but good defensive pursuit denies him a gain. He is knocked down at the 9-yard line by James Washington and Larry Brown. Washington, a former Ram who was a Plan B acquisition by Dallas a few years back.
This is just great team defense. A fast start by Casillas takes Malinicek out of the play, and now it's just pursuit and more pursuit as Brown and Washington throw Gary for a 1-yard loss.
There's James Washington. Darrell Henley was a college classmate of his. Said they called him the Dream because of a facial resemblance to Akeem Olajuwon. 2nd and goal. Everett looking left all the way. Touchdown! Jeff Chadwick, his 2nd TD catch of the year. Larry Brown victimized. And Tony Zendejas on to tack on the go-ahead point. Chadwick holding his ribs. Here's Zendejas. Mike Pagel will hold him. Rams lead it 14-13.
We talked about the Rams and how well they throw the slant pattern. Good job of Chadwick fighting his way inside against Larry Brown. The protection there, and it's a strike from Everett.
This Rams playing on the road where they haven't won this season, but they have a 1-point edge after Jeff Chadwick makes the catch from Jim Everett. Everett now 8 of 11 for 80 yards. And we've got 2:15 before halftime. 14-13, Los Angeles. Zendejas, Kelvin Martin has it bounced, and it'll go into the end zone where he'll drop to one knee and then touch back. Cowboys bring it out to the 20-yard line.
That really was a heck of a drive led by Jim Everett. And remember, he had to overcome the embarrassing point when he tripped over his own feet for a sack.
Timeouts left and 80 yards to go for a touchdown. They would, I'm sure, be more than pleased to give Lynn Elliott a chance for a field goal to take a halftime lead. 1st and 10. They had to use one timeout earlier when the play clock almost expired on them. Troy Aikman is 7 of 11. They hand it off to Emmitt Smith. And the clock will stop on the 2-minute warning now. After a very modest gain by Smith and a tackle by Mike Peel. 2 minutes remaining in the first half of play. Rams lead by 1. Angeles leads with 2 minutes to go in the first half. The Rams played here in 1989, and Jerry Jones was remembering before the game how the Cowboys had a lead of 10 points and the ball at the 50 with 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go, and they wound up losing 35-31. That was during the 1-15 season.
And it was that game that convinced Jimmy Johnson he needed to change his offense, and he went out and got the quarterback coach of the Rams, Norville Turner, to come down here to be his offensive coordinator.
And things have kind of turned around since then, haven't they?
Oh, yeah.
Left side, Novacek. First down, Dallas at the 32. They'll hurry up and try and save a timeout now. They pick up 10 yards on that play. 1:45 to go. Aikman looks out at Alvin Harper. 4-man rush by the Rams. They go behind Michael Irvin, incomplete. 1:32 to go before halftime.
And Aikman really is thinking, I need to get 40 yards to put Elliott in position for a field goal less than 50 yards. So that's what's on his mind right now. You'd like to go down and get a touchdown, but the important thing is to get the lead before halftime.
2nd down and 10. 1:32 to go. And again, the Cowboys with 2 timeouts left. Aikman into the flat for Emmitt Smith. Kevin Green was coming on a pass rush that time, and Robert Bailey was defending on the play.
If that ball is thrown a little bit higher, Bailey picks it off and goes in for 6 the other way. Good pressure by Green, but Aikman had a lot of time to find somebody, settled on his outlet receiver, and is real lucky it wasn't picked off.
New Orleans at halftime leading the 49ers by 3. We're a minute 27 away from the half, and it's 3rd and 10. Poor Seattle may not score again in 92.
Averaging 6 points a game.
Here comes Kevin Green again, and he knocks the ball free as Aikman tried to flip it out. Eric Williams was blocking alone on Kevin Green, and Green won that battle.
And he's one of the very best at rushing the passer, and the Rams put him in the down stance on nickel situations, and this is why. Watch him from the right side of the screen here, working against big Eric Williams. Williams having a heck of a year in his 2nd year, but it's the experience of knowing when you're beat to jump up in the air and try and knock the ball down. Green did just that.
Los Angeles has 15 pass deflections among the members of its front 4. And in this instance, I think you could count Kevin Green as one of them because he was in a down position. Here's Mike Saxon on to punt. Vernon Turner, fair catch at the 21-yard line. So the Rams will have a chance to add to their total. They have all 3 timeouts left. Next weekend, CBS Sports presents the Franklin Funds Shark Shootout, hosted by Greg Norman. Other players competing include Fred Couples, John Daly, Arnold Palmer, Tom Kite, and Davis Love III. That's next weekend on CBS Sports.
That wasn't me playing the drums.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
sorry.
The Shark Shootout. Huh. 1st and 10. Everett, 8 of 11. Left side, incomplete. Willie Anderson and Jim Everett were not on the same page. As a matter of fact, Thomas Everett was closer to the ball than Willie Anderson. Talked about Everett being a streaky player. Earlier this season, he had 12 in a row against the 49ers. And he had 11 in a row against the Giants, 14 in a row against Atlanta, and 13 versus Phoenix. Boy, if he gets in a groove.
Well, it's up to these big guys up front to get him in that groove. So far today, they've done just that. He's only had 1 sack, and that's when he tripped over his own feet.
2nd and 10. 1:11 to go. First half. They hand it off to Cleveland Gary, and he is knocked down at the 25-yard line. See if the Rams use one of their timeouts here. They will. They call time. It's Dallas that calls time. So the Cowboys stop the clock. They have 1 left. They stop the clock with 62 seconds to go. First half. 13 Los Angeles. They have a touchdown toss. Jim Everett to Jeff Chadwick to complement a 1-yard touchdown run by Cleveland Gary. And now they have a 3rd down and 7 from their own 25 with 1:02 to go first half. Cowboys will send 3 and drop 8. Everett across the middle, caught, first down at the 33-yard line. And it's Chadwick again with a grab.
And it's over the middle again for Chadwick. Something the Rams haven't been getting this year from any other receiver, but he's so dependable over the middle. That's why he's on this ball club.
So Los Angeles uses 1 of its 3, having acquired the first down.
Well, watch Chadwick just work down across the middle, but they're just dropping back into real soft zones here by the Cowboys. It's a smart football by Dallas, and a heck of a grab by Chadwick in traffic.
Got it in front of Kenneth Gant, made the catch, and then LA called timeout to stop the clock with 55 seconds to go.
We talked earlier about Aikman wanting to get 40 yards. Well, 35 yards now will put Zendejas within his range for a field goal.
1st and 10, Rams. They lead by 1, 14-13. Right side, Aaron Cox. And that's another Los Angeles first down, and it stops the clock at the 47-yard line. Coming up on the NFL Today halftime report, Greg and Terry with all the scores, highlights, and the latest information from around the league. Aaron Cox, who grew up near the Los Angeles Coliseum and then elected to play football at Arizona State University.
There's the guru, Ernie Zampese.
Looks like he's hiding behind the desk. 1st and 10. Everett dances right, pulls up and fires deep for Flipper Anderson, and it's incomplete as Isaac Holt was among those covering. Thomas Everett was also down there. Kansas City knocked off Washington after they jumped up 28-0 in that game. Green Bay got a 41-yard field goal with no time left to defeat Philadelphia. Houston outlasted Minnesota 17-13. Pittsburgh defeats Detroit by 3. San Diego and Cleveland now both 5-5. And the Jets won for the 3rd time this year. 2nd and 10 at the 47. 14-13 Los Angeles. Everett short. That time the pressure was there. No sack, but he had to hurry his throw. Tony Casillas, Jim Everett, Leon Lett, and Tony Tolbert.
Interesting, we start talking about keeping statistics for defensive linemen a few years back, 20 or so. They said that, when you tackle the quarterback, we'll give you a sack, and that'll be an official statistic for defensive linemen. I got a feeling, though, that in the not too distant future, we're going to be talking about pressures, and Casillas got one there. That's a pretty good definition of a pressure. Making a quarterback throw the ball before he's ready.
It's 3rd and 10. Rams have been excellent on 3rd down against the #1 3rd down team in the league. Everett pump fake, wide open, Flipper Anderson. A corner bit on the pump flake and a 45-yard pass.
We called it a chess match. What the Rams did that time is they faked that skinny post, that slant pattern. Right here to Anderson. He's going to come down and then jump over the top. But watch Isaac Holt gamble right there. That's 2 steps to the inside, and you can forget it. Perfect throw by Everett. Puts the ball inside the 10-yard line.
Isaac Holt victimized. 45-yard gain, first and goal, Los Angeles. They lead by 1. Knocked. Gary has it, spins, drives, and is down at the 3. Tony Casillas makes the tackle.
And the Rams use their second timeout. Now you go back to the decision that Dallas made to call a timeout on 2nd and 5, where the Rams looked like they were going to run the clock out. The Cowboys used a timeout on defense. In effect, that gave the Rams 4 timeouts to work with.
And now they've got 21 seconds remaining in the first half and on the verge of extending their lead.
But sometimes you kind of get into the thing where you do too much scouting, where you know a team too well. You know their tendencies to throw that slant pattern. And we've seen Everett hit Chadwick on it for a touchdown earlier today. Isaac Holt always has had the reputation as being unpredictable. He's been a gambler. He's been a great player for many, many years, and he's having a heck of a year so far. But he bit on the fake by Anderson, the good pump move by Everett, and it's a big play for LA.
21 seconds to go, first half. Second and goal, Rams. They lead it 14-13. Backs are split. Everett, Gary, touchdown Los Angeles.
And Zampese gets a player down mentally, as he did Isaac Holt, and goes right back after him. That was split right slot, scat right, 364 flat, and Everett went to the flat pattern.
Wait a minute. Wait, whoa. It was what?
Scat right, 364 flat, thrown it 1,000 times as a Charger. He's following it, Zampese's good orders, and it's another touchdown for the Guru.
Cleveland Gary has 2, one on the ground and the other in the air.
Watch the quick drop, and this has been a key for Everett all day. It's 5 steps, read the defense, get rid of it, and Gary beats Holt to the corner of the end zone. But the pass protection is excellent. Job by Brostek there, and Malinchik and Newberry just bottling up the middle. It's a touchdown for LA.
Gary 90 yards rushing the ball and 9 receiving. He has scored twice. Well, we talked about Los Angeles and the importance of the Rams keeping in the ball game early. They got a touchdown on their opening drive. They had been outscored 62-7, 65-7 in the first quarter this year, but they had outscored the opposition in every other quarter for the season.
And this is how they do it here. Now, it's going to be 364. There's the but first of all, here's the 3, here's the 6, and here's the 4, and it's F flat.
I understand that.
This is how it all works.
Sure, I know what you're talking about.
And of course, that was the play before, so
well,
we got our cards mixed up a little bit.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one confused.
So much for me calling the plays, huh, Vernon? That's why I got out of the game. I couldn't figure them out myself.
Out to the 25. And the Cowboys, David Lang made the tackle. Now Troy Aikman at 21-13, Dallas trailing by 8.
And the Cowboys, you wonder about trends in the league. 2 other NFC teams lose today. Washington to Kansas City, Philadelphia to Green Bay, and now the Cowboys find themselves down by 8. You just never know about the way these things happen in threes sometime.
Late September last year, they defeated the Giants here 21-16. They haven't been defeated at home since then. And Los Angeles has not won on the road in 11 trips. But they do lead at the half on a superb offensive performance engineered by Jim Everett. That's the end of the first half with our score. The Los Angeles Rams 21, the Cowboys 13.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by your Toyota dealer, who invites you to see the big new Toyota T100 pickup, the wines of Ernest and Julio Gallo, and by HP LaserJet printers. If it isn't a LaserJet, it's only a laser printer.
Quiet right now because the Dallas Cowboys have fallen behind 21-13 as Jim Everett hit the 2 touchdown passes.
Yeah, that's really been the key. It's been the play of Everett. They've got solid ground game from Gary so far, but it's been the big play. That 45-yarder to Anderson at the end of the first half really sent the Rams in the locker room feeling great about themselves.
Well, Dan, I go back to the top of the day, and you said you thought if Los Angeles was going to win this game, that Jim Everett had to come up big and his wide receivers had to help.
Well, it's been that offensive line. There's only been 1 sack on Everett, and that's the one time he fell down. But you got to give a lot of credit to the guys up front. Cowboys aren't out of this by any means. They've got a great football team, and you know they probably heard it from their head coach at halftime.
Tony Zendejas will kick it off. Dallas has Kelvin Martin as the deep man. Clayton Holmes is back to help in case it comes his way. 21-13, Los Angeles. Here's Kelvin Martin at the 6. Almost broken. He gets to the 29. At the half, first downs. Los Angeles with a big lead. They also have the lead on the ground and in the air. And how about this? 3rd down conversions. Dallas had given up 1 of its previous 25. And the Rams 6 of 8.
And on the year, the Cowboys had given up just 22%. The Rams are winning that battle as well as all the other numbers in the first half.
21-13. That's Michael Irvin in motion, followed by Henley. Emmitt Smith. And he is tackled by Henley as he gets out near the 33-yard line.
Another tackle for Darrell Henley, who came into the game as the number 2 tackler for the Rams. Very unusual for a cornerback to be making all those tackles. But in talking to him last night, he said he didn't want to make a whole lot today. He doesn't really cherish that role. This is unusual for a football team, but when you look at their record 3-6, it's kind of an indication when your secondary is leading you in tackles, that's not a good sign for a defense.
2nd down. Aikman comes to the right side. Michael Irvin drops the ball. Oh, there's a lack of concentration. And then he has to take an official grinning at him as he comes up.
Well, there's one man that's not grinning. It's been one of Johnson's biggest fears is how his team will concentrate. And we've seen a lack of concentration by Michael Irvin today. This is his 3rd drop of the day, and this was the easiest of the 3. Hit him right in the breadbasket. Looking to make a spin move there. Tried to get away for extra yardage. Took his eye off the ball.
3rd and 7. That catch is made by Kelvin Martin, good for the first down at the 41-yard line. Well, Jimmy Johnson has been increasingly concerned about a growing number of distractions as the city and the country gets caught up in Dallas. As a matter of fact, Nate Newton and the offensive line had contracted to do a video of sorts. And Jimmy Johnson told Nate, I just as soon you not do that. So that's been put on hold.
It's a little bit too early in the year to be making your Super Bowl shuffle videos. Not that that was going to be of that type, but the distractions are something that have been on Johnson's mind.
1st down and 10, Dallas. They trail 21-13. Emmitt Smith gets the handoff, and the lead draw goes left and trying to get the block from Nate Newton. Newton said he certainly understood that he was at practice about a week or so ago, and they were stretching. Johnson walked over and stood above him, and Nate looked up and said, Coach, how you doing? He said, fine, Nate. Coach, you got something on your mind? Yeah, Nate, I do. Why don't you not do the video?
And Nate knew it was coming, and he agreed right away. Okay, Coach, whatever you say. But they really don't need those type of distractions yet. This season has got a lot of football left in it.
2nd down and 6 from the 46-yard line. Emmitt Smith comes right. Gets by Kevin Green and Anthony Newman. And is out of bounds. A flag from well downfield. We might get a face mask call here.
Now Emmitt jumped up. We might also get unnecessary roughness from Anthony Newman. And Smith was well out of bounds when Newman slammed him to the turf. That's going to be a 5-yard, it would appear, face mask penalty against Anthony Newman.
Face mask, 5 yards from where the ball was dead. 5 yards, first down.
There
he goes.
Red's back.
There's the left hand by Newman.
Anthony Newman, who leads this Ram team with 4 interceptions this year, but that miscue gives Dallas a first down. They would have faced 3rd and 1. They've got the ball at the Los Angeles 45. Play action. Aikman. Michael Irvin hangs on to this one at the 35-yard line. That is almost a 10-yard gain. Todd Light with the tackle. Saints continue to lead the 49ers at Tampa Bay, rolling over Chicago. The Raiders lead Seattle. That is good enough for a first down. Michael Irvin has gone over 100 yards again. That's 4 for 103. He's averaging 20.3 yards per catch this season, but the drops have been important.
But you know one thing, that Aikman is not going to give up on him no matter how many balls he drops. But the Cowboys are going to have to call a timeout here. Some confusion in the huddle. And that could be very costly at the end of the ball game. Cowboys.
First down and 10. Aikman looks for Irvin on the crossing back. First down at the 16, a gain of 18.
The key on any crossing route, Vern, is a real sharp cut. It's got to be one of those right angle jobs, and watch Irvin plant that right foot there and come straight across the middle. Does not let Todd Light get underneath to make the deflection, and that sets up the Cowboy offense in the red area inside the 20.
Dallas trails 21-13. Just under 11 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. Darrell Johnston comes in motion. A pump fake, and in the corner they go. Overthrown. Pat Terrell picked it off, but he was out of bounds.
That was Aikman throwing the ball away and almost not throwing it far enough away. As Terrell made the grab, but about 2 yards beyond the end line. Good read by Aikman, saw that the double move was not there that time. But interesting, it's again back to the chess match between Turner and Zampese. Zampese got the long play to Anderson at the end of the first half on a double move, similar to that one there. So Turner decides, I'm going to try one.
Second down and 10. 21-13. Los Angeles leads. Draw play, Emmitt Smith. Nothing open. Stepnoski and Johnston were shoved back into Emmitt Smith.
Well, it looked like the big right hand of Sean Gilbert, though, discouraged Emmitt Smith from trying to go to the left side. He was in a stalemate there with Stepnoski. Here he is, number 90. Watch as he gets in here and sticks his big right hand out and keeps Emmitt Smith from going to the outside. Right hand got right on his shoulder, and Emmitt said, I can't go that way.
3rd down and 12 from the 18. 2 wide receivers to the left, Kelvin Martin wide right. Novacek, who's been kind of quiet today. Now here's the pass in the end zone, almost picked off by Terrell. And Aikman threw that one into double coverage, and he had Novacek wide open over to the left-hand side.
Well, there are a lot of people in the secondary when you get down to this part of the field, and the quarterback has got to throw almost over a forest of hands. The Rams do this as well as any team. They get their hands up in the secondary. There's Pfeiffer and Terrell showing that he's got bad hands dropping a sure interception in the end zone.
Todd Light was saying yesterday, and Anthony Newman, that Aikman sometimes tracks a receiver, but he keeps focused on one. Here's Lynn Elliott with the field goal, and it is good. So Elliott has now hit his last 8. That one from 36. He's got 3 today, and it cuts the margin to 5 points.
Talked about the tracking. Watch Aikman follow Martin down the middle, but Michael Irvin is wide open in the back of the end zone. Aikman zeroed in on one receiver and may have cost his team a touchdown.
Here's Lynn Elliott's kick. It's a dandy, and it will not be returned. Vernon Turner drops to one leg, and the Rams will get it at the 20. Well, let's go back to our New York studios and check in with Greg. Now, they always seem to play well in Candlestick Park, the Saints.
Be tough for the 49ers to come back against that defense. I don't care where you play.
21-16 here. Jim Everett has had the hot hand. 2 touchdown tosses so far. Here's a pitch to Cleveland Gary. Vincent Smith up to make the tackle. Somewhat surprising when you look up and find that the Dallas Cowboys have the #1 defensive unit in the National Football League. But there they are.
Well, and we talked to James Washington and Thomas Everett yesterday, and I posed the question to them, do you know the #1 defensive team in the NFL? And they said, well, I think we are, aren't we? They weren't quite sure. That shows you their focus is not on statistics, but on their performance.
That is Dave Wanstead, the defensive coordinator. It's 2nd and 12. Incomplete. Intended for Carter. Robert Jones. And what has become an increasingly vocal crowd over the last couple of years has a revived interest in this ball game. 3rd and 12.
And this stadium can be as loud as any dome stadium in the entire league, even with the hole in the roof.
They're 6 of 8, but this is 3rd and 12. Rush 3, drop 8. Settle for the short man, Cleveland Gary. One man misses the tackle, but 2 more come up to knock him out of bounds. Larry Brown and Ken Norton Jr.
Yeah, the Cowboys dropped 8 in the secondary, and they had 65,000 yelling at the quarterback. You got to really give a big hand to the crowd for coming to life here at the start of the 3rd quarter.
That brings up a 4th down, and Don Bracken will punt it away to Kelvin Martin. Cowboys blocked 2 earlier in the season, and they're coming this time. But the kick is away. It is short, and it will bounce and take a cowboy roll before it's stopped. Blair Bush thought, just in case, just in case.
Yeah, he got such a nice big bounce. It's probably been 20 years or so since he's been able to get a ball on the run like that.
8:35 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Dallas trails by 5. Dallas defense talks things over on the sideline while their offensive mates have a 1st down and 10. Emmitt Smith calling for quiet. Dallas trailing 21-16. Michael Irvin in motion. Emmitt Smith to the 46-yard line. Robert Young makes the tackle. They went over the block of Nate Newton that time. Came here as a free agent, did Nate Newton, and has earned a niche in Cowboy lore. Extremely likable and more than talented player. He's an excellent one.
I asked him a tough question that asked him who the best player that ever came out of Florida A&M was. He said, well, there's Willie Gallimore, there's Bob Hayes, and there's me.
He said, I got a shot at that list. 2nd down. Aikman with protection. Jay Novacek at the 49-yard line, short of the 1st down. It'll be 3rd and about 4 as Kevin Green makes the tackle. Nate Newton is an aspiring broadcaster, and he's working for KRLD radio here in Dallas doing color on high school football game. And he said, you guys got it easy doing the network stuff. We asked him what game he did this Friday night. It was a game between the Burleson Elks and the Louisville Farmers. Louisville won big. And here's a small note to accompany that. Among those who graduated from Louisville High School, Walt Garrison, former great Cowboy. 3rd and 4.
Was he an elk or a farmer?
He was definitely a farmer. Left side, caught, first down. Right in front of Darrell Henley. Alvin Harper with his first grab today. And it's a first down, Dallas at the Ram 45.
Well, once Aikman and the Cowboy offense starts to feel more comfortable in Harper, you're going to have two outstanding threats as wide receivers. Harper's made a few big plays this year, but still is not as consistent in his route running as a quarterback would like to have, especially in this type of offense where timing is so important.
First down at the 45, 6:25 remaining third quarter. Rams lead at 21-13. Emmitt Smith to the 40-yard line. That is his 16th carry of the afternoon. And he's closing in on 100 yards.
Second down.
Now with 82. Alvin Harper hurries off the field, and Kelvin Martin takes his place. Second down and 5 from the 40-yard line. Kevin Green and the Ram defense trying to hold back this Cowboy offense. That's a good way to do it. Mike Peel, number 95, makes the tackle.
Well, Peel has started today for Bill Hawkins. He's to the right of the screen, and he's going to take the tight end Alfredo Roberts out of the play and then get into the backfield. Tough assignment for a tight end to block a down lineman. Peel is normally a inside defensive lineman at tackle, so he is used to having big guys blocking him, not tight ends.
Third down, 8 Dallas at the Los Angeles 43. 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Aikman at the 40-yard line. Emmitt Smith short of the first down. And the Cowboys will have to bring on Mike Saxon. Roman Pfeiffer with the defensive job that time.
And that was a big defensive stop for the Rams, because this will force a Cowboy punt. And after getting excellent field position, the Cowboys don't do anything with it.
Vernon Turner waits for it at the 10. Saxon will try and kick it out of bounds inside the 20. Darrell Johnson is the up back. And Saxon comes to the near side. There's Kenneth Gant down there. Can't get it. It'll come out to the 20. So the Ram defense holds. The Ram offense gets the ball back with 4:05 remaining third quarter.
Balance here, spreading the ball equally among the different parts of the field, but a lot of success on the right side for the Rams.
They have a first down and 10 at their own 20 now with a lead of 5. 4:05 remaining third quarter. Cleveland Gary spilled at the 23-yard line.
The Rams can't afford to get conservative at this point, and knowing Zampese, what he's looking for now with that run is some breathing room for his quarterback. This crowd was all hopped up the last time the Rams had the ball in a similar place on the field. A good run on first down, and you take the crowd out of it, but they're fighting to get right back into it.
Ernie Zampese upstairs, the offensive coordinator. Second down and 7. Everett back to throw, comes deep left side where Henry Ellard makes the catch in front of Larry Brown. That's a Ram first down at the 38-yard line, a gain of 15 yards.
Good decision making, quick decision making by Everett has kept him upright and kept that pass rush away from him. He throws that out pattern as well as anybody. But what you never see is after the ball's gone, watch Jim Jeffcoat, number 77, on Gerald Perry. He's going to give Everett something to think about.
First down and 10, and Everett limping just a bit. They hand it off. There's a mix-up. Cleveland Gary. He does get yardage out across the 40 near the 43, and Russell Maryland, number 67, makes the tackle.
It looked like Everett wanted to hand that ball underneath instead of over the top. Watch as he stumbles coming out from center. Amazing thing is that with Newberry's nice block there, it's still a nice hole and a gain of 6.
And the ball at the 43-yard line. Gary with 20 carries for the day and 96 yards. He's been over 100 3 times this season. It's second down and 5. Here's Cleveland Gary coming left, searching and probing, and he is knocked down with gang tackling of the Dallas Cowboys, led by Russell Maryland and Godfrey Miles. Russell Maryland, who as a senior at the University of Miami, worked out in the weight room with Tom Newberry, the starting guard of the Rams. Tom lives in Miami, in the Miami area in the offseason. And they became acquainted then. We asked Tom yesterday if he remembered him. He said, of course. But not in terms of someday going up against him. 3rd and 5. Jim Everett calls timeout. Play clock was down to 3 seconds. So Jim Everett will come over and talk with Chuck Knox. The Rams have stopped the clock, leading by 5.
Vern, I'm sure you remember your old broadcast partner when you were the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham.
Oh, he's lost
Roger
the beard.
has the snap. No blitz this time. Rogers up in the pocket. Cocks and fires deep. Way downfield for Butch Johnson. Double coverage. Caught. Touchdown. Oh, a super catch by the Cowboy rookie. Right into the teeth of double coverage. Butch Johnson. Touchdown.
That doesn't date it much, does it? The Cowboy rookie.
I like that hair deal you had going there, Vern. You look sharp.
Brad's lost a beard, and I've gained 30 pounds.
Yeah, but you got another beard standing next to you now.
Here's Everett. Flag is down. They threw it right at Vern Brostek. Darren Woodson was defending. Holding Los Angeles.
And if it's against Brostek.
Holding number 61 on the offense.
And it is.
That penalty is declined. It's 4th down.
He's only in his 3rd year out of the University of Washington, but he already has a reputation as being a holder in this league, and that's a terrible reputation to have as an offensive lineman.
That brings on Don Bracken with 1:26 to go, 3rd quarter. Kelvin Martin waits for it at the 15. Rams lead 21-16. That's a short punt. Martin on the run. Room to return it. One man to beat. No flags. Second of the year for Kelvin Martin. It was officially 74 yards, tack on 35 more for his run up the exit ramp.
Doing a little Bo Jackson on us there going up the ramp. But the key was that short punt. Not only was it just 31 yards, it was very low.
Joe Avezzano, the special teams coach, Jimmy Johnson told us yesterday, we will win the special teams battle. Earlier this season, Kelvin Martin toted one back 79 yards. And now his 74-yard punt return for a touchdown has put the Cowboys on top.
He catches it moving forward, takes 2 steps to the left, and then straight up the field. And now the non-athletic punter, Don Bracken, slips and falls down, and Martin's looking for an exit ramp. Oh, what a helpless feeling for a punter. I've been on this situation as a quarterback trying to stop guys making interceptions. You just got to give it to the better athlete here. But it was a short punt and the low punt by Bracken that set up the great return for the Cowboys.
Calvin Martin's second touchdown on a punt return this season. Joe Avezzano, the special teams coach, and it's 23-21 Cowboys.
And in talking to Johnson about how the year has gone for him this year, he said we started out the beginning of the year with our special teams playing very well. Then our offense kind of took over and carried us. Then it was our defense. And now it's back to the special teams. That's a pretty good mix to have, and that's one reason why you're considered the best team in the NFL.
Lynn Elliott will kick it off. Boy, that is a dagger in the heart of the Los Angeles Rams. Now we'll see how well they can rebound. They've not been out of any game they played this year, they feel, other than Buffalo week 1. And now Jim Everett will bring his offense back on the field.
Now, as a quarterback, you hope for some wonderful words of wisdom from a coach after a play like that. And usually the only thing they ever tell you is, go get him, kid.
1st and 10 at the 20. 1:06 to go, 3rd quarter.
Boy, now the crowd's going to be all over Everett, making it very difficult to get his signals called.
Deep left side, incomplete. He hit Flipper Anderson, but Anderson was not on the field to play. I was talking to Jack Snow at halftime. Jack, of course, now the radio broadcaster for the Rams, one of them, and longtime great receiver for Los Angeles. He says Jim Everett is playing much, much better this season than last, and he gives a lot of credit to Ted Tollner, who is the quarterback coach of Los Angeles.
Ted has told Jim not to worry about all the negative things that happen around you. Focus on your job and don't worry about anybody else's. He's really going to have to focus now.
2nd and 10.
The thing that Jim would do is after a bad play such as that punt return, he would think that, hey, I've got to make it all back on the very next possession. Well, the one thing that Tollner said is you can't go back and correct mistakes that have already happened, whether they're yours or somebody else's. The only thing you can think about is the next play, the next series of downs, and this man here has really helped turn around Jim Everett's career.
3rd and 8. Shotgun formation for the Rams. Everett has been sacked just once, and that was a trip more than a sack. Flag is down. This one will come back or be declined now, since it is incomplete. The illegal use of the hands to the face. Red Cashin.
Illegal use of the hands to the face. Number 61 on the offense. That penalty is declined. Foot down.
Take a look at it right in the middle. This is the big cat, Leon Lett. And there's the hand by Brostek right into the face of Lett. And again, Brostek's called for a penalty on a key 3rd down situation.
And Calvin Martin is back to return Don Bracken's punt again. They should come out with terrific field position. Return is on all the way. Short punt again. Martin at the 41. A flag is down as well. This time he goes left and is spilled as he gets up near the 47. But check the infraction. The yellow hanky is at the 21-yard line. .51 defense holding, and the ball was not yet kicked.
And this will be a 1st down for the Rams. So Ken Norton's called for holding before the ball was punted.
Little lip reading lesson there.
Before the ball was kicked, holding by the defense, number 51, 5 yards, first down.
I love it. I've known Red for many years, and he would always come into our locker room in San Diego to get his ankles taped before the game. So I would take advantage of that situation and kind of sidle up to him on the old training table and say, "How's it going today, Red? You gonna take care of me, huh, buddy? You know, keep those big guys away from me." And Jimmy's saying, "Hey, the ball was already punted, but the officials were all over it." And it's easy to read lips from a guy from Texas. They kind of do it a little bit slower than the rest of us.
I have no idea what you're talking about. First down and 10. Gary. Out to the 29. That is the 23rd carry for Cleveland Gary, and he's got an even 100 yards for the day. That's also the end of the third quarter, 23-21 Dallas. Our coverage continues after this message from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
Norton is 51, 53 is Strickland, and they're going to call Norton for holding there, and that's a real picky call. They could have let that one go.
Yeah, that was iffy. Everett, Gary, no good. A little low. And a little bit behind Cleveland Gary.
Boy, Gary had miles and miles of room in front of him. That ball thrown at his feet. Watch Everett just kind of drop this one too low to Gary. Looking for his outlet receiver here. And if Gary catches it, there's just nobody around him. The closest thing appears to be the 45-second clock. That's down behind the end zone.
3rd and 8. Everett with time into the flat for Gary. First down, another conversion for the Los Angeles Rams. Right now, let's see what's happening with the Saints and the 49ers. Here's Greg Gumbel.
All right, Vernon, Kent.
All right, Greg, 14:40 to go here, 23-21 Dallas. They've gone back on top on the strength of Kelvin Martin's 74-yard punt return. But the Rams just converted, and Jim Everett is 16 of 27 for the afternoon. Into the flat again for Cleveland Gary. Goes by Godfrey Miles and flies down the sidelines. Out of bounds at the Cowboy 45-yard line. That's a gain of 16 yards.
And he's slow getting up. Rams can't afford to lose Cleveland Gary. He's been about 80% of their offense today. That's his 7th reception on the afternoon. Scored a touchdown rushing. He's got 100 yards rushing. He scored 1 touchdown receiving.
And at least for the moment, he'll have to sit out.
And you know, he could have avoided that hit and stepped out of bounds, but he was going for extra yardage, and he paid for it physically. But you gotta love the effort.
Anthony Thompson is in now. He hasn't carried since he joined the Rams. Has now. And he comes into the backfield and carries for the first time with his team down 23-21.
But Thompson is no slouch, Vern. He was a #1 pick of the Phoenix Cardinals a couple of years back from Indiana. But it is kind of scary for you to come in and take your first carry of the year for a new ball club in a very close game.
David Lang is also in the lineup, and Cleveland Gary will try and walk off the nick. It's second down at the 43-yard line. 2nd and 8, 23-21. Dallas leads. Here comes the blitz. Everett, hot receiver is Jim Price. Shakes a tackle and picks up more yardage as Thomas Everett went for the grab and missed him. That's a gain of 10.
And a first down. Everett, one of the better tacklers in the league. But you could just see Price setting him up after he made that catch. Stop sharp. And Everett couldn't stop in time. Watch this move by Price after the catch. Talk about breaking sharp. Well, this is one thing where you have an advantage on this artificial turf. He plants that right foot, breaks the tackle, and picks up the first down.
Cleveland Gary back in the lineup on 1st down and 10 from the 34. Everett under some pressure, lets it go incomplete. The pressure came from Russell, Maryland, who got by Tom Newberry and was right at the feet of Jim Everett.
That's almost a case of a quarterback dropping back too far in the pocket and getting beyond where the offensive line expects him to be. It's always been a rap against Jim as his fundamentals, and his drops have been inconsistent. You've seen today when he's been most effective, it's when he's been back 5 steps and getting rid of the ball. That time he drifted in the pocket.
Well, he has thrown 30. That's usually an indication that you are behind, as the Rams have been much of the year. 2nd and 10. Draw play. Gary. He gets to the 28, perhaps the 27-yard line. Godfrey Miles makes the tackle.
You got to love this effort that Gary has given the Rams today, especially when you look back at the rough afternoon he had last week against Phoenix when he fumbled 3 times in the second half and lost 2 of them, and that brought up all those ghosts of seasons past when he had that terrible year in 1990, fumbling 12 times.
24 carries now, 7 receptions, and he hasn't come close to bobbling the ball, so that has not been a problem. 3rd down and 5, 23-21. Out of the shotgun, Everett. And the catch is made at the 20. That's another Los Angeles 1st down. Jeff Chadwick makes the grab.
And after failing to convert on any 3rd down plays in the second half, the Rams now have done it twice in a row.
Well, we don't know how this drive is going to end, but keep in mind that it was sustained on a punt when a call was made for defensive holding on Ken Norton before the ball was kicked, and the Rams got the ball back with a 1st down.
Yeah, you go back and you look at that, and it's hard to tell, first, where the holding was, and second, if the holding was before the ball was, in fact, kicked.
1st and 10, here's a reverse. It's given off to Vernon Turner, and he is spilled by Isaac Holt. He does get it to the 17-yard line, maybe the 16. That is his 2nd run of the season.
Well, this is a job of just playing your responsibility by Isaac Holt. Here he is, the corner right here, and he doesn't follow any of the fake as it comes over here and the reverse comes around. Watch number 30. He's just going to sit there, look in the backfield, and then come up and make a great open field tackle.
2nd down from the 15. 2nd and 5. Play fake. Everett fires it, caught. Incomplete pass, almost picked off. Isaac Holt had the first hit, and it was huge.
Well, it's a bootleg, and again, Isaac Holt just playing his responsibility on the field. He drills Travis McGee, and Ken Norton cannot come up with the interception. A good job of the veteran Holt doing what he's supposed to do. The ball bounced off his backside, and Norton can't quite pick it up.
Travis McNeil is the injured player. Time has been called. It'll be 3rd down when we come back.
Summary is sponsored by Budweiser.
Calvin Martin's 74-yard punt return has put the Cowboys on top.
Pass left side, incomplete.
As Dave Wanstead brought his defensive troops en masse that time.
And good coverage by Thomas Everett. Jim Everett just threw that ball over the top and out of play so that he ensures that his team will at least get a chance to take the lead on a Zendejas field goal.
Tony Zendejas has not kicked that many this year. He's only 7 of 11. Mike Pagel will hold, and this could give Los Angeles the lead. 33-yard field goal attempt. Got it. Rams lead. The 16th play of a drive that was renewed on a defensive holding call on Ken Norton Jr. on a punt. But Zendejas has kicked it through for the 8th time in '92, and the Rams lead by 1. A 33-yard field goal by Tony Zendejas at the end of the 65-yard drive has put the Los Angeles Rams back on top, 24-23. They led last week at home by 1 to Phoenix and wound up losing 20-14. Here's Kelvin Martin, and he's knocked down at the 21-yard line. Regional action of the NFL.
Washington and Philly this evening against Denver. Won't be easy though in Mile High.
First down and 10 from the 21-yard line. Troy Aikman, a rather modest 14 of 24 for 184. Throws deep left side. Michael Irvin makes the catch and is kept in bounds at the 33-yard line, but he does get a first down.
It's amazing that Irvin catches so many balls. He's really the only threat as a wide receiver the Cowboys have, and yet teams continue to leave him single covered, and he's having another big day in receiving, averaging over 20 yards a catch again today.
6 for 134 for Michael Irvin this afternoon. First down 10, Dallas at the 33. Aikman, good downfield coverage, and he finally finds a short receiver at the 38-yard line. That's Darrell Johnston, number 48.
We talked about Johnston and the fact that his maximum amount of carries in a game is going to be about 2. He's averaging 1 carry a game, and he says he's still looking for that magical 100-yard season.
He might find it at the end of a bungee cord. He's been bungee jumping 3 times. Last time was on St. Patrick's Day.
That fits.
Yes, doesn't it? Second down and 6. Here's Emmitt Smith coming left. It'll be 3rd down as Emmitt Smith gets to the 41-yard line.
See big tackle Mark Tuanay there, and Johnston's having trouble convincing him that bungee jumping is safe enough even for a guy that weighs 300 pounds. In fact, he went to showing him the commercial where they pushed the Jeep off the bridge on the bungee cord. Johnston said maybe you can sit in the Jeep.
3rd and 3. Cowboys trailing by 1. And the clock becoming important now. 8 minutes and 17 seconds to go in the ball game. Aikman, short setup. Into the flat for Novacek, and a wonderful job on the open field by Steve Israel. And the Cowboys will have to punt. Remember back on the Cowboys' opening drive of the ball game when they had 4th and a yard inside the 25? They opted to go for a field goal.
Well, Novacek's going to come in the flat, and Harper's supposed to come down here and cause some traffic problems. That doesn't happen here as the cornerback comes off. Good double team tackle, Terrell and Steve Israel. Great play on defense for the Rams.
Mike Saxon punts it away, not his best effort. It does get a Cowboy roll. Vernon Turner comes right. And boy, is he triple teamed and down. Clayton Holmes and Godfrey Miles and Darrell Johnston, and add in Derek Woodson. The only point I was trying to make about that decision to go for the first down is it seems like such an insignificant thing at the time, and yet you look back now, less than a yard on 4th down. Jimmy Johnson said, no, we're not going to try for the first down. We'll settle for a very short field goal.
Kind of uncharacteristic for a coach with Johnson's reputation to take the conservative call.
Look what the Rams have done on offense. Even more important, no turnovers. Here's Henry Ellard at the 25. No turnovers and an astounding conversion rate on 3rd downs of 8 out of 13.
Well, it's been a short passing game for the Rams that has really worked for them. Vern. It's a short drop by Everett, as we saw in that play, and only one completion over 45 yards. That was the key play to Anderson at the end of the first half. But it's been a good job of game planning by Ernie Zampese and excellent execution by the offensive line protecting Everett.
2nd down and 2. That's close for the first down at the 30-yard line.